Welcome to Official Storytime with Miss Anna. Today we're going to be reading Agnes the Invisible. Let's see what the story is all about. Chelsea Wellington was a city girl who knew a lot about city life. Living in the city meant that there were always busy streets, crowded sidewalks, and homeless people who slept on park benches. Chelsea believed that it was okay to ignore the people who lived on the streets because they didn't really matter. Like other kids her age, Chelsea went to school, liked to play with her friends, and didn't like to do her homework. However, what made Chelsea Wellington unique was her obsession with bugs. In fact, the creepier the critter, the better. Every day after school, Chelsea and her older brother Leo would go to the park to look for bugs. Chelsea loved to use her ultimate adventure kit for young explorers. It had a bug catcher, a magnifying glass, a notebook, a book about bugs, a hat with special netting around the rim, and even a flashlight. It was awesome. Chelsea and Leo were allowed to go to the park if they stayed together and didn't go near any of the homeless people. That was easy because Chelsea never really thought much about the people who lived on the streets. She just thought that they looked dirty and a little scary. In many ways, they had become invisible to her. Since getting the adventure kit, Chelsea and Leo had even more fun going to the park. They loved exploring all the nooks and crannies in the trees and on the ground, looking for some kind of interesting critters to learn about. Little did they know that Agnes, a homeless lady, often watched them, fascinated with their discoveries and entertained by their excitement. One day, while Chelsea was looking through her backpack for her magnifying glass, Agnes was sitting on a nearby bench, wondering what to do. She had found the magnifying glass the day before and was hoping that Chelsea would come back to the park again so that she could give it back to her. She was afraid, though, because she didn't want to scare Chelsea or Leo. Knowing what she had to do, Agnes stood up and took a deep breath. She slowly walked over to Chelsea and Leo, who were frantically searching in the tall grass for the magnifying glass. Are you looking for this? Agnes asked, holding up the magnifying glass. Startled, Chelsea and Leo whipped around and found themselves staring into the eyes of a scruffy homeless woman dressed in rags and mismatched shoes. Chelsea and Leo were so scared that they ran home as fast as they could. By the time Chelsea and Leo got to their apartment building, they were gasping for air. They could barely catch their breath. Then suddenly, Chelsea realized that she had left her adventure kit and her magnifying glass at the park. They had to go back. Chelsea and Leo got back to the park, feeling nervous and unsure what to expect. But then Leo spotted the adventure kit leaning against a tree. Surprised that everything, including the magnifying glass, was in the bag, both Chelsea and Leo looked at each other. They felt a little embarrassed about how they had reacted to the homeless woman. Hopefully, one day, they will have the chance to thank her for her help. But for now, she was gone. Several days had gone by, and they had not seen the homeless lady at the park. Chelsea worried that she wouldn't see her again. She and Leo wanted to thank her for finding the adventure kit, so they went back to the park with their mom to look for the lady. They looked everywhere, but they still couldn't find her. Chelsea, Leo, and their mom were about to give up when suddenly they heard a husky voice coming from behind the oak tree. There she was. Agnes grinned a great big grin, looking at Chelsea, Leo, and their mom. They were speechless. They didn't know what to say. They had never been this close to a homeless person before, let alone talk to one. I'm Agnes, Agnes said, breaking the silence. With their mom's permission, Chelsea and Leo moved forward. Nice to meet you, Chelsea replied, and shook Agnes' rough, dirty hand. Do you want to see what I found the other day? Agnes asked, pointing to a huge old tree a few feet away. Can I? Chelsea asked, looking at her mom. Go ahead. I'll wait right here, her mom said as she sat back down on the bench. Without saying a word, Chelsea, Leo, and Agnes walked over to the massive tree. Then Agnes rolled up her sleeve and stuck her whole arm deep inside the trunk of the tree. The whole tree started to screech. Then, all of a sudden, Agnes pulled out a really big, ugly bug. It was a cicada. This was definitely one beginning of a new friendship. In the following days, Chelsea and Leo learned that Agnes was a bug lover too, and that when she was younger, she used to be a science teacher. Agnes said she loved being a teacher, but then she got really sick. She had to stay in the hospital for a long time, and she lost her job, her house, and even her dream of having a family of her own one day. Chelsea, Leo, and their mom wanted to help, so with a lot of convincing, Agnes finally agreed to go to the local shelter, even though she was afraid people would look down on her. To Agnes' surprise, not only did the shelter give homeless people a place to stay and a hot meal, they also helped people get their life back on track. Impressed with Agnes' story, the shelter offered Agnes a job. It was the first job Agnes had had in years, and she loved it. She helped in the kitchen and helped to keep the shelter clean and tidy. She met a lot of nice people, and all of them had their own stories about why they were homeless. It was the first time in a very long time that Agnes let herself dream about the future. If there was one thing about friendship that Chelsea, Leo, and Agnes had learned, it was that sometimes friendship happens when you least expect it.